So, just welcoming you all here to this virtual space with the Parkinson's Foundation. The Parkinson's Foundation hosts virtual events each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you guys are here, you're being mindful with us this Monday. Please tune in to our Wellness Wednesday and our Fitness Friday. You can learn more and register for those programs at parkinson.org/PD Health. And Jennifer will put that link in the chat for you guys. PD Health at Home is presented by the Light of Day Foundation, whose generosity has made this programming possible. So I just want to take a moment to thank the Light of Day Foundation for their tremendous support in giving us this opportunity. So thanks so much, Light of Day Foundation. The Parkinson's Foundation provides families with free resources, including our website, parkinson.org, educational books, webinars, podcasts, a hospitalization kit, and our toll-free helpline, 1-800-4PD-INFO. That helpline is bilingual and staffed by Parkinson's specialists. So please feel free to reach out to our helpline for any type of support you might need for your Parkinson's disease. To learn more about our resources and upcoming virtual events, again, you can visit our website at parkinson.org or call that helpline number, 1-800-4PD-INFO. For people with Parkinson's, reading poetry aloud may not only deepen your understanding and appreciation for a poem, but also strengthen your voice and improve speech. Enjoy the magic of poetry and bring your favorite short poem to read aloud with peers to discuss. Join us this Wellness Wednesday as we kick off our social engagement series with Poetry for Parkinson's. You can learn more about this Wednesday's event at parkinson.org/PD Health. And of course, don't forget to tune in next Mindful Monday. I'll be leading a session on the practice of gratitude, so we can look forward to that next Monday. And for those of you who weren't able to join us last Mindful Monday, we did make an announcement that I had created a New Year intention setting session. So it's not too late in the new year to set your intentions for this year. I believe Jennifer and I had emailed everyone who attended last Mindful Monday. So check your inbox, your email inbox, for the link to this New Year intention setting session if you're interested in viewing it. If not, that's fine. You know, we start our years the way that we most want to. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Take a deep breath. And I'm going to hand the mic over to our expert leading us through a practice of acceptance today, Dr. Taylor Rush from the Cleveland Clinic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Krista. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see everybody's shining faces in the new year, and I'm very happy to be with you all, and we'll be able to be with you all on an ongoing monthly basis. So we're going to kick off the year on another series that we kind of started late last year, which is on the theme of acceptance in mindfulness practice. And so today I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you guys about something that we call the power of pause and the importance of taking strategic pauses throughout our day in order to enhance our acceptance and our presence in the moment. So I wanted to start off with a Chinese folktale. And this is called The Man Who Was Afraid of His Shadow. And so long ago, there was a man who was afraid of his shadow and also hated his footprints. He tried to avoid his shadow as well as his footprints by running away. But no matter how fast he ran, the shadow always kept up and his footprints were always there. And so thinking maybe he was running too slowly, he just kept running faster and faster and faster until he finally just so exhausted himself that he fell over dead. He didn't understand that had he relaxed in the shade, he likely would have rid himself of his shadow. And by resting, he would have ended his footprints. So I realize that's kind of an odd and morbid story, especially starting out the new year. But the basic principle behind this is that sometimes we think that if we just push harder, if we run faster, if we try to do things more, that somehow it will solve our problems. And I think in our society here in the United States, especially, we're conditioned that way. We're told we have to keep going. We have to always, push ourselves farther. We have to, be the best and do the best. And, we have a very competitive kind of culture. And I think that gets instilled in us at a very early age. And we don't always get some of those opportunities that we need to allow ourselves to pause, to take a moment to refresh or recharge, or even just to reflect on what's going on in our lives, and that we may need to actually take a time out. And so this is a concept that I work with a lot of my patients who have Parkinson's, because many of them have trouble with this idea of pausing, because I get a lot of people who say, it already takes me twice as long to do half as much as I used to do. And so I feel pressured to have to try to push myself, because I need to try to keep up at least with something that looked like the pace that I used to. And as a result, they sometimes end up feeling more stressed, and they feel more like they're less than. And there's this sense of distress and sometimes shame that goes along with that. And so we talk about the power of pause in being able to sometimes slow down cognitively, mentally, physically, because we need to be able to just be with what's ever in front of us in the moment. And so again, for my folks who have Parkinson's, sometimes that's learning how to sit with physical discomfort, such as wearing off periods from their medication, or if they're experiencing other symptoms like rigidity or tremor. And so instead of trying to distract or run or just count down the minutes till they can take their next Cinemet, we talk about ways to try to sit with some of those feelings, even if they're not the most pleasant. And to check in with ourselves like that, it also helps us to better understand how we're reacting to those situations emotionally. And as we talked about before, when it comes to acceptance, when things are not going our way, or if they're negative, we tend to try to push them away. We're like, I don't want that to happen. I want things to go the way I want them to go, and I don't want to feel things that are unpleasant. But in fact, sometimes we have to reconcile that those things happen, even if we didn't plan it and we don't want it. And so there's a great quote by Viktor Frankl, for any of you who are familiar with him. He was a Holocaust survivor and went on to become a neurologist and a psychiatrist, and was the founder of something called logotherapy. And he has a fairly famous quote that says, "Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power and our freedom." And to me, that really highlights this power of the pause, to kind of slow down and recognize what's going on around us while we ourselves can actually become mentally still. And so by doing that, it allows us to do a few things. We can notice, one, what we're experiencing physically, emotionally, what thoughts are running through our head. We also can notice what we may be trying to avoid, because again, acceptance is about being able to be more aware and more accepting of those things that maybe we don't always like or find unpleasant. And to do this allows us some respite from some of those things that may be overwhelming, or those things that we may be running from. And it allows us to better understand what's going on, what sensations exist, and how to maybe meet our body where it's at. And I think, in addition, it's important to have some of these pauses, because especially, again, when you have Parkinson's, your energy reserve is not what it used to be. Oftentimes, I tell people your gas tank is a little smaller. And so it's important to take kind of these punctuated pauses to be able to kind of refresh yourself and to be able to garner back some of your energy. So I have a good example that just kind of happened to me this morning. I definitely did not plan this. I ended up waking up about 45 minutes late this morning because of some technological failure on my part with my alarm. And so I wake up and, Monday morning, my immediate thought is, oh, expletive. And obviously, things did not go well with me trying to get myself ready. I have 2 small humans I have to get ready in the morning and get them off to school. And so I get everything done somehow miraculously within an acceptable time frame. And then I'm driving to work, and I'm listening to the news on the radio, which I think most of us can agree is not the most comforting place for some respite. And I recognized, I'm like, I'm talking today to, a group of people about the power of pause. Maybe this is something I need to be doing myself. And so I ended up turning off the radio and just driving in silence on my way to work. And so in that 10 minutes from the time I turned off the radio to the time I pulled into the parking garage, I actually found myself feeling quite a bit better. And so it can sometimes be a challenge to recognize when you need the pause. But I think it's in those moments when we feel like we have the least amount of time for a pause that we probably need it the most. And so I want you to think about that. And I thought that we could go through a short meditation exercise that incorporates this idea of the power of the pause, and some kind of guiding ideas for ways that you can maybe incorporate this into your day and into your practice. So go ahead and get comfortable in your chair as best you can, your typical meditation stance. And for those of you who are new, just getting as square in your chair, your couch, or wherever you are as you can, so that you can just allow your body to rest as best you can. Preferably feet on the floor, but at least anchored in a position that's comfortable. Hands at your side, on the armchair, under your lap, whatever works. Shoulders down. And again, you can either keep your eyes closed, or you can kind of find a fixed, soft gaze on the floor. And so usually when I tell people about using the pause, I tell them to start by taking 3 deep breaths, just in an effort to connect to their body. So go ahead and take 3 deep breaths. Using the belly to expand your lung capacity. So when you breathe in, it's like you're blowing up a balloon and your stomach moves out. And with each exhale, stomach gently moves in towards the spine. And I just want you to notice the sensations in your feet. And if your feet are on the floor, just noticing how they may feel grounded against the hard floor. Noticing any pressure points in your toes, soles of your feet, your heels. And then moving up to your shoulders and noticing the position of your shoulders. You want to try to create some distance between your shoulders and your ears. So allowing your shoulders to sink down. Taking another deep breath. And now relaxing all the muscles in your face. Allowing any tension, allowing any muscle rigidity in your facial muscles to dissolve. We so often hold tension in our face without even realizing it. And now I want you to pay attention to any outside noise that's going on, whether it be a TV in the background or cars outside or whatever it may be, but acknowledging the noises that exist in your environment. And almost imagining turning them down like a little volume knob, allowing yourself to focus instead on your own heartbeat. And then notice any internal noise. And by that I mean, the helter-skelter kind of thoughts that tend to race through our brains, various random to-do items, thoughts about whether you're doing this right or not. So some of those judgments that come through. And again, not necessarily changing them, but just acknowledging their presence, acknowledging what may be going on for you in this moment that you may be reacting to. And then again, turning back to your heart beating. And then noticing any other feedback that your body may be giving you, whether it's tension in certain areas, any discomfort you may be experiencing, any nuisance symptoms that may be bothering you. But just noticing them for what they are, noticing your reaction to them. And letting go of any judgment or need to try to change them. Just accepting where they are right now and how they may be contributing to how you feel right now. And turning back to the sensation of your heart beating. And during a pause, it's important to notice if there's anything that keeps trying to snag your attention. Is there a certain thought or a certain symptom that you may keep getting hooked into, that your focus may be drawing back to? Just allowing yourself to observe that. And what that may be trying to tell you. And then bringing the sensation focus back to the breath. Maybe noticing any differences in your breath. Perhaps it's slowed down, become more evenly paced through this activity. And then setting a brief intention for how you want to move forward with the remainder of your day. For some, it's fairly early still. There may be much of the day left. How do you want to meet the day? What attitude do you want to bring to this day? And how do you want to embrace anything that may happen that you didn't expect? And one more deep breath. Start wiggling those fingers and toes. Small muscle movements. Anchoring back. And opening your eyes when you're ready. Okay. So as you kind of resettle back and bring your attention to the group, does anyone have any thoughts or questions, or would like to share maybe some ways they plan to incorporate a pause meditation, which really can be anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. It does not have to be long at all. But strategically placing them in your day when perhaps it may be necessary or helpful. Does anyone have ideas for how they might want to do that?
I'll share one.
Yes, thank you, Krista.
So I am also a yoga teacher, and I always take a moment once I've set up the space for the students by myself in the bathroom before I walk into the class, and I pause and just breathe and center myself before I hope to achieve the goal of centering others.
I love that because it can be done anywhere, right? We don't have to have any special equipment. We don't have to be in any particular area. We can just be wherever we are and what makes the most sense for us to be able to take that pause. Even I said, driving into work this morning and in Cleveland traffic, which isn't always all that relaxing in and of itself, but we can take those pauses and make the day work for us a little bit better. So does anyone have any messages? I don't think I see anything typed just yet, but I just want to allow for any opportunity for sharing or questions that people may have. And if not, that's completely fine too. Okay, so Carol says, not all of us are older or retired. I am a busy professional with children and a hectic lifestyle. I realize you're right that I never pause, and we'll start doing so. Oh my goodness, yes, Carol, I understand your struggle. And it is much easier said than done. John says, watching the birds from our living room. Oh, I love that. Nature is an amazing way to take a pause, because we sometimes can realize through, watching animals that, the world isn't just about us, right? There's so much else going on in the world. And, animals have this uncanny way of being able to kind of set us at ease and recognize that, the things that are important are not always what are top of mind for us. So I love that idea. Animals can be a wonderful source for that. Plan to use the pause right before we begin a search for yet another thing we have misplaced. I love that. That's wonderful. I feel like I need to do that more in my house, because everyone seems to always misplace everything. And I think we need to do that a little bit more too. I think that's a great idea. Helps to, maybe look at the situation and the environment with a fresh pair of eyes, and can sometimes help us recall information we otherwise wouldn't be able to retrieve. So I think that's great. You guys are coming up with some great ideas. Rory says, when I'm having shuffling steps. Yes. And that's something that I talk to a lot of my folks with Parkinson's about, is in those moments when some of those symptoms start to heighten. we get anxious, right? You know, it's really, really hard when our body is not cooperating with what our brain is trying to tell it to do. And so in those moments, we tend to tighten up, we clench, we tense, and that typically does not make shuffling gait better, tremor better, rigidity better. It makes all of those things worse. So to be able to take a pause and just check in with yourself and what you're experiencing in that moment can help to release some of that anxious tension that tends to be our, you know, our gut reaction, and help you to then be able to better plan how you want to move in that next moment. So I love that. And I often will tell my patients, you know, if you're noticing something like that, even if you don't have time for a 1 to 3 minute pause, take the 3 deep breaths. Start there and then see what you can do after that. So that's a great opportunity to take a pause, even if it's only for a few seconds. All right. I think that's the last comment I'm seeing, at least. So thank you guys so very much for having me. And I really look forward to seeing you next month and talking more about another facet of acceptance.
Thank you, Dr. Rush. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, as Dr. Rush alluded to, Dr. Rush will be leading a mindful session for us once a month now. So we've got her on the calendar for the year. So please do join us. We have reserved the second Monday of the month for Dr. Rush's meditation mindful practices. So if you enjoy her offerings, please do continue to join us on that second Monday. Next week, we will be talking about gratitude and what that means for us. And so just take those moments, this moment of pause that Dr. Rush has offered us this Mindful Monday, and maybe start plugging it into your daily life, daily practice. So just as she was closing up, I was thinking, goodness, one thing I could really learn to do is pause before I eat. So I'm constantly like, what's the next thing to eat? What's the next thing to do? And I'm eating very quickly because there's another meeting to attend or a task to do. And so I'd really like to, I think that's what I'm going to do this week, is practice pausing before I eat. I think there's research behind it being better for the digestive system too. All right, you guys. So I hope that you all will join us next Mindful Monday, and we will be addressing the topic of gratitude. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.